Students, bandwidth utilization की first technique हम लोगों ने study की थी, and that was multiplexing. हम लोगों ने 3 different types की multiplexing techniques को study किया. The first one was frequency division multiplexing. Then we went through the wavelength division multiplexing. Both of these were analog techniques. And then we spoke about time division multiplexing, and we looked at quite a few concepts around time division multiplexing and how TDM is used today in different applications. अब स्टूडेंट्स बैंडविड्थ यूटिलाइजेशन की सेकंड टेक्निक की बात करेंगे, एंड दैट इज स्प्रेड स्पेक्ट्रम. स्टूडेंट्स, बैंडविड्थ को प्रॉपर्ली यूटिलाइज करना एंड टू मेक एन एफिशिएंट यूज ऑफ इट सो दैट वी गेट एन एफिशिएंट डेटा कम्युनिकेशन सिस्टम इज द टॉप मोस्ट प्रायोरिटी फॉर एनी डेटाकॉम सिस्टम. However, there is an exception, and the exception is some of the systems where there are other concerns, there are other issues that overcome the problem of bandwidth utilization. What do I mean by that? Students, in the case of wireless LANs or wireless WANs, wireless networks specifically, there is a high risk of an eavesdropper or high risk of an intruder trying to come in and trying to intersect the data that we are sending, because the medium that we are using is air. The medium that we are using is wireless. So there is a high chance that our data can be intercepted, and therefore there are security concerns. Students, the security of the data or the accuracy of the data is higher in priority as compared to the bandwidth that it is going to utilize if we can protect it in some way, shape, or form. Students, the technique that we employ is called spread spectrum. And what we do in this particular technique in spread spectrum is we add some redundancy to our input signal. We add some redundancy to our signal that we need to send from A to B. Students, we add redundancy and then we spread the original spectrum of the signal so that the spectrum needed for each particular station, it is expanded on. The bandwidth is spread to an extra bandwidth so that it's difficult for an eavesdropper to come in and interpret the signal. Students, there are 2 distinct principles that we need to adhere to when we are talking about spread spectrum technique. Students, the first principle is that the bandwidth that is allocated to each station, that needs to be larger than what is needed. And so our bandwidth utilization, bandwidth efficiency is not paramount in this particular case. We use higher bandwidth so that we can add redundancy. Students, the second principle is that the spreading process, the process that we use to spread the bandwidth to a higher bandwidth, that should be independent of the frequency of the original signal, and it should not interfere with the original signal. Now, students, slide pe dekhiega. In this particular case, you have got a signal which has got a certain bandwidth, which is B, capital B, and then you have got a spreading process that you have employed in this particular case. And all it is doing is it's using a particular spreading code to spread the bandwidth of this original signal into BSS, B, bandwidth of spread spectrum. Students, as you can see, BSS is way greater than B in this particular case. So students, after the signal is created by the source, the spreading process or the spreading code, it uses a particular code and it spreads that bandwidth.